clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and if you've ever wondered if hypnosis can help you manifest a relationship or attract a particular type of partner, then this is the hypnosis session for you. What you're going to hear in this episode of The Hypnotist is a client that I was working with that had been in a series of short-term relationships, and because of that, they had this belief that the relationships were always going to be temporary, they would never work out, and that if there was someone they really wanted, they had to make most of the effort. And for someone that they didn't want, then they'd be on the receiving end of attention that they didn't want. And what this hypnosis session does is the opposite of regression. It actually takes them forward in time to a time when they're already in the ideal relationship. And then they get to figure out what changes to their beliefs, to their behavior, to their standards were needed to make that a highly probable outcome. So it uses future pacing and working backwards rather than affirmations and suggestions to move forward. And the reason for that, it comes from a chapter from a very good book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, where one of the principles is to start with the end in mind. And I do that with every client. I ask them, what would an ideal outcome be if our time together doing hypnotherapy would be useful? So I want to start with the end in mind, and that's also useful for goal setting or anything that you want to manifest, is to think about what is the thing and then what would it have taken to get that particular outcome. And sometimes a useful way of thinking about relationships is not to focus so much on what you want, but to focus on you. So who do you need to be to attract the person that you desire is a much better question than why won't they like me or why won't they stay with me? Because one is disempowering because the control is outside of your focus, and the other is empowering because there's things that you can do to change parts of your behavior, your standards, and the way in which you live. So the best way to get the most out of this particular session is to find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense of release, as if tension, stress, or worries are just leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice that with your eyes closed, you're able to focus so much more on the sound of my voice. The sound of my voice is like a guide, guiding you to that place where things that would be useful to change. And all those wonderful things that are useful to stay the same, stays the same. And perhaps you can notice that when you slow down your breath, the breath can get longer. And when the breath gets longer, you're able to inhale more of that relaxation and exhale more of that tension. Almost like each and every breath is taking you deeper and deeper relaxed. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine keeping your body exactly where it is, but allowing your imagination to imagine walking down a long winding path somewhere in Mexico. And just imagine it's maybe 20 minutes or so before the sun sets. And maybe this long winding path is surrounded by certain plants, certain smells that give you an idea of where in the world you are. As you continue to breathe in and breathe out, imagine how good it would feel to be walking towards a beach with no one else there. As you walk down the path, I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. With each descending number, just walking down the path feels like you're walking towards a beach that represents a way to access more of your subconscious mind. 5, walking down that winding path. 4, as you continue to walk, maybe see the colors of the sky already starting to change. And then 3, getting closer to the beach now. And just imagine your whole body feeling more and more relaxed, like you've released tension. You've released stress and worries. So your breathing gets more effortless, flows easier. And then as 3 turns to 2, getting closer to the beach now. And just imagine that any worries are far behind. And you're accessing that mindful part that can pay attention to my voice, the beach, the sunset. As 2 turns to 1, just imagine the winding path opens up towards the beach. I want you to imagine wearing whatever clothing is appropriate for this beach. A beach at sunset. And maybe you can imagine seeing the colors of the sky as the sun gets lower and lower towards the horizon. Maybe you could imagine hearing the gentle waves breaking on the shore. And maybe there's certain rock formations or boulders that represent stability and strength. And I want you to get a sense of how detached and yet connected you feel in this place. And I want you to imagine, for some reason, the most comfortable chair that exists on the planet is there on that beach, facing where the sun is setting. So imagine placing yourself on that chair, staring into the sunset. And just get a sense that as the sun sets, you're drifting into a place where your imagination awakens even more. That as the sun sets, you drift off into a dreamlike sleep. And sometimes when people dream, they access a future. They start to think about the life that they really want. So allow your whole body to sink into this comfy chair. And as the sun sets, I want you to imagine that you're drifting off into a dreamlike sleep, into a desirable future, perhaps just 2 or 3 years into the future. I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, and you will imagine the sun setting and you falling asleep on that chair, drifting into that dreamlike sleep, a sleep where you see the future. 5, the sun getting lower and lower towards the horizon. 4, seeing the orange, the yellows, the pink hues in the sky. 3, perhaps half the sun now is already down past the line of the horizon. Maybe there's some low clouds still there in the sky, and then 2, lower and lower. And 1, Just imagine it's now officially the time where the sun has set. And just imagine drifting off into that dreamlike sleep where you get to visit a future. And I want you to imagine seeing yourself 2 or 3 years from now looking happy, looking safe, looking content. You are now an invisible observer to your future self. And I want you to see the clues that you are happy in this relationship. I want you to see that version of you that has freedom. You get to live the life and do the things that you like to do. No rules, no restrictions. And I want you to see the dynamics in this relationship, but the specific face of your partner in this future relationship is blurry. You just know that in this future relationship there is respect and loyalty from them to you and you to them. That even though they could explore other options, they choose not to. And also that is the same for you. You're making the evaluation of you in this future version doesn't need any other options, doesn't need a plan B or a plan C. You are happy with exactly things as they are, because in this future, your core need is being met. And you can see from your facial expressions and from your body language, that future version of you feels safe because of consistency. And if you can see that future version of you, content, happy, safe, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to see that there's other clues as well. Authenticity, connection. Observe yourself waking up together, going on vacations together, working out together, meals together. I want you to get a sense that you are a source of support to them and they are a source of support to you. I want you to get a sense that this feels harmonious and balanced. I want you to get a sense that there are other clues too. They are considerate and thinking of you often, and equally you are of them. But I also want to see the lifestyle that you have in this future. Clues that it's not just the relationship, but the lifestyle that makes this future so desirable. And maybe the clues are the type of house you're living in, how you spend your time, or being able to just pick up that black Amex and go shopping to buy the things that do two things at exactly the same time. An expression of freedom, but a sense of reassurance that you are important enough to be worth investing in. And if you can get a sense that this feels like a safe, desirable, connected future, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to see evidence that this is not temporary. Somewhere in this future you will see photos perhaps on a wall that show perhaps key moments that tell you that this relationship is stable, consistent, and not fleeting or temporary, because the photos are evidence that you've gone through ups and downs and are still together. That the challenges in the relationship are the very thing that make the relationship stronger. Every successful challenge that is navigated increases the strength of that relationship. And I want you to see how that person celebrates you and you admire them. See the safety, the freedom. But more importantly, I want you to see the qualities in the person that you're with. They are intelligent, capable, successful. But I want you to see that they are consistent and kind and respectful. And I want you to see that the qualities that they exude, you see even more of those qualities in you. Sometimes it's helpful to believe that like attracts like. The loyalty they have for you, you have for them. The desire they have for you, you have for them, giving you absolute reassurance that there is no settling here, there is no compromise. This is something that all parts of you want. They are desirable for you and you are desirable for them. No game playing, no power dynamics. This is something that ticks the boxes and makes you feel good. And when your subconscious mind is confident that if this was your future, you wouldn't risk sabotaging it. You wouldn't need to have a backup plan. You would be all in on this relationship. Just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then step into that version of you. And I want you to imagine that this future version of you has kept a journal. And in that journal, you could imagine flicking through the pages, able to see certain beliefs that changed. Maybe there was a time that you didn't believe that a relationship was possible like this. And maybe what changed is that you had faith that it would. Maybe somewhere in that journal there was a change of strategy. From having options open to being willing to take a risk, but only when it makes sense to do so. That by reducing options, you are having a vote of confidence in this future possible relationship. Or maybe conversations that you avoided, you started to initiate, to figure out if it was that relationship that you wanted earlier. Maybe at some point you wrote in the journal that certain things that made you felt safe, maybe getting in the way of something you truly wanted. So you changed either a boundary, a standard, or a strategy, knowing that in doing so it led to the very thing that you desired more than the ability to protect yourself in the short term. And I want you to get a sense that the clues are there in the past. And one of them is feeling worthy of having everything that you desire, having an irrefutable belief that for the right person, they would never want to replace you because you are everything they are looking for. And anyone that would want to replace you would never be the relationship that you would desire anyway. As you flick through the pages of this journal, I want you to feel a sense of a shift taking place. New ways of thinking are opening up. Beliefs that have been sabotaging at an unconscious level are fading away, and new beliefs are beginning to awaken. And I want you to think of a standard or a boundary, or perhaps even a rule that you were following to keep you safe. Might be the very thing preventing this wonderful, desirable future. You didn't know it at the time, but in the future it will be obvious. So from this future perspective, I want your unconscious to tell you, either now or in a future moment of intuition or epiphany, what that key change is that you can make to break an unconscious pattern of self-sabotage that is rewarding in the short term, but perhaps frustrating in the long term. And if your unconscious already knows what that is, let me know by nodding your head. And if it doesn't know right now, I will give it the direct suggestion to go to work, to piece everything together and let you know in a moment of inspiration. When the penny drops, it's obvious. And maybe it's just one tiny change. Maybe it's a shift in perspective. Maybe it's inversing a certain way of thinking. Assuming that rather than things being temporary, that temporary things are just a test, a way of filtering out who doesn't have the qualities or level of desire needed to make this ideal relationship work. But if your unconscious is open to a shift in perspective, belief, a new strategy or a higher standard to increase the probability, to make it a certainty that you move in exactly the direction that you desire, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And now that seed is planted deep in your subconscious mind, creating a ripple through time from the past into the present, into the future, that more and more you will feel is inevitable. And that level of confidence that what you want is inevitable will make the anxiety linked to anything temporary completely disappear. I want you to think that there was a time that there were 3 points of a triangle that made it feel that what you truly wanted was impossible. But I want you to imagine that those 3 points on that triangle, that 2-dimensional shape, are now growing upwards to form a pyramid. And the pyramid is everything that you want. Something consistent, something good, and something valuable. And if your unconscious now believes that that future is not just possible but inevitable and will help you to move in that direction, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that any blocks come from a place of protection. I want you to get a sense that if you were on that beach, but there was a chain or a rope connecting you to that huge boulder, and just imagine that perfect relationship was at the other end of the beach, you would have a choice to make. Stay attached to the boulder that might represent certainty and safety, or take a risk and cut the rope and move forwards to that relationship that meets all of your needs. And the most difficult part would be the journey, the moment where you cut the rope and move forward without the certainty of knowing that that future will happen. So let's just reassure that part, the part that wants to keep you safe. In life, you either win or you learn. And what if the real thing that keeps you safe is wisdom and discernment from previous experiences? That way, either things will work out fine, or you will have even more specific feedback as to what to refine and change to increase the probability that the next time is more likely to give you what you really desire. And you don't have to cut that rope now. Just be willing to, if you feel that the risk is worth the potential reward. And if your unconscious agrees, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. So imagine floating from the future all the way back onto that beach. And just feel that something has changed. Even if that's a sense of clarity, empowerment, or faith. I want you to feel that you are raising your standards, willing to settle or compromise less, but willing to give more, but only for the right person. And as you hold that thought, just imagine walking back up that winding path under bright moonlight. And when you get to the top of the path, just imagine floating all the way back into your body. As you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.